I'm posting this on Facebook, and you're watching this right now because we couldn't get on live this morning at 8 o'clock Central. And I'm with Brett Murray, my friend from Australia, who's got Murray's Brawlers, this line of motorcycles, and Safeheart, which came out of Make Bullying History. Yeah. And now you've broadened the scope of that to Safeheart. And as part of that outreach, you've started Blood Brothers and the Resistance, which is a men's movement. Yep. That's going to spread across Australia. And I think the whole how's it called? The Australasia region.
Yeah, Australasia. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's incredible. And so Brett, it's great to talk to you. I've got people texting me going, are you having difficulties getting on? Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just record this and then I'll stick it on, and everybody that normally comes on at 8, they'll be able to see. That's just the way it goes. You can see it later. So anyway, Brett, tell me, kids, wife, married, tell me that stuff. So everybody knows.
Married from a very, very young age, married to Teresa, my beautiful bride. We got 3 amazing children, Hannah, 25, Joash, 22, going on 23, and Micah, 21. And we just...
and your daughter's about to get married.
About to get married, yeah. I'm about to walk her down the aisle. Today, we actually went out and bought the suit that I'm going to walk her down the aisle in. And we actually got her wedding dress. Her wedding dress was made a couple of months ago, ordered months ago, and we bought that on Monday. So it's becoming real. It's becoming real.
I'll tell you, real, man, is when my daughter and her husband Niles, who's a great guy, and he's a pastor on the staff at Gateway Church, was when, I don't know how the stuff happens in Australia, but at the end of everything, the festivities and the dancing and all this stuff, they get in a car and they drive off. Yeah. Everybody cheers and, throws stuff or whatever, does little things or bubbles or whatever they do, and sparklers. And so I think we did sparklers. And so they get in the car, they're all excited and they drive off. And that's when it hit me.
Wow.
Because some guy is driving my daughter to a hotel.
Yes. Yeah. It's like,
It's like, dude, wait a minute. Hang on. How well do I know this guy? So anyway, we've been married 18 years, I think now, something like that.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Anyway,
very excited.
Congratulations on your daughter getting married. And,
a great man of God, to an amazing man of God. I'm gaining another son, and he surfs. So we surf together, which is epic. So even better.
That's fantastic. And then tell me about this motorcycle thing, man. This is unbelievable, this new thing that's happened in your life.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. Ever since I was a little boy, like I'm talking 2 or 3 years old, I've just been fascinated with motorcycles. I've been riding a long time, and always dreamed of having my name on the tank, my own brand, but I never told anyone, like literally never told anyone. It was a fantasy. It wasn't even a dream. It was beyond a dream.
Yeah, and it couldn't be real, so,
Yeah. And over the last sort of 12 months, 18 months, I come from a spray painting background in the automotive industry. Worked in many panel shops. And that was, 17, 18 years ago, I stopped doing that. But, I just had this dream of one day buying a bike and one day customizing it, bit of a cafe racer kind of feel. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice if I just made my own street fighter / cafe racer, but I wanted something unique, and I thought, well, let's call it a brawler. And I'll call it Murray Brawler. And I made up this really cool logo and everything. Didn't tell anyone. And then now just doing some research, and a colleague of mine asked me randomly in January this year, what's one of your dreams? And I just blurted it out. I'd love to build my own custom-made bike.
So you guys are at an event or something? You're hanging out?
Yeah, we were just at another charity that we partner with, Christian charity called Life Choices Foundation. We're just at their planning day. And just over lunch, this guy just making small talk. And I shared it with him. He said, oh, you need to meet a good friend of mine. Wow. He's a really good bike builder, ends up living, his workshop is 15 minutes from my doorstep. The guy's a pastor of a church.
Come on
the leadership team. And he's number 3 bike builder in the world. He's the best bike builder in our nation.
Come on, man.
I shared the vision with him and said, look, I'd like to make this bike, and I'd really like to actually, use it as a tool to attract men. And he said, you're an answer to prayer. Let's do it. And within a week of that, I'd met his wife, and she said, yep, this is just God's answer to prayer. A week beyond that. So 2 weeks after this conversation, we've got a bike in the workshop. And it's happening, and we're 60% built. We're going to build 28 of them.
You're going to build 28 Murray's Brawlers. That's just the start.
Yeah.
And these are cafe racers. And if people aren't familiar with that, it's more of a sport touring bike sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Japanese Grand Prix style bike stripped down. So you take all the fairings off, so you expose all the naked engine and everything. And made for speed, usually a one-up rider. They usually don't have a pillion seat, or if they do, it's short distances only.
So we might remember it as the Triumph, let's say, from the 50s with the long seat. Yeah.
And they had the little bump at the back, so you don't slide off the back. That was
off the back. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they usually had the low clip-on handlebars, so you're really low.
So you kind of lean over the gas tank, so the gas tank is a little larger.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that sort of feel, and
yours is going to be fully unique. It's going to be its own bike,
our own style. We're creating our own tank, our own seat, our own headlight unit. Darren is just a genius with welding. They're going to have titanium pipes. They're going to be a performance
fantastic. So there's already guys I can hear now. There's guys. We've got friends who ride in Ecuador.
Yeah.
Friends who ride across the U.S. and in the UK. So I can hear guys already going, I want to see this thing. How do I get it to the States? All that.
How do you export it? Yeah. Well, I'll be sending photos to CMN saying, post these.
Come on, man. Yeah, I'm excited about that. And we met because you basically hit me, DM'd me one day. A year ago about ministry to men. Because here you've been for years working on this Make Bullying History, which is now Safeheart.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of that is to help young people not be bullied, pull them out of bullying, and help young people who did do that recognize their shortcoming.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And then from that, now you're moving into the core issue, which is if you raise up fathers who raise their kids properly, then you don't deal with bullying.
Absolutely. All the research, and I'm talking non-Christian research, psychological and all the developmental research on human behavior all leads to the positive impact that positively involved fathers have. Wow. And one of the major impacts, fathers are the number one influencer on self-esteem or self-worth on an individual, male and female. And when fathers are present and engaged and active, kids have a higher self-esteem and right across the board. I mean, there's too many issues to mention, but kids perform exceptionally well when they have a positive, stable, engaged father figure in their life. And kids who have high self-esteem tend not to bully because they're not trying to tear other people down to try and get that validation need met inside. And from that too, the worst form of bullying is domestic violence, domestic family abuse. And, because bullying is long-term ongoing violence, threats of violence or antagonization. And so through my wife Teresa is a key part of the team, as in she helped found Make Bullying History. And she actually is the founder of Safeheart because it was her idea to say, hey, hang on a minute, we need to build safe people and safe places. It's got to be just beyond bullying. And unfortunately, Teresa lost her mum to domestic violence. So it's something very near and dear to us as a family. And she spearheaded our work in domestic violence. And again, who are the number one perpetrators? In Australia, at least, 89% of all domestic violence cases are men perpetrating violence upon women. Yeah. So again, ground zero, the Holy Spirit keeps talking to us, ground zero is men. As a charity.
It's fascinating. The domestic, and by the way, you're in Australia right now. So we're talking to you. It's late at night, early morning here. And but what's fascinating here in the United States, and I would imagine it's somewhat true there. What we discovered, this was a shocking thing to me, is because so many people are living together, so many people are married without, if you will, having gone through being married.
Yeah.
In other words, they're just calling themselves married when they're not.
Yeah, de facto, yeah.
Yeah, and what we found out through research and through a couple key friends is that 90% of the domestic violence in the United States happens in an unmarried relationship.
Wow.
Wow. 90%, only 10% happens inside marriage. In other words, getting married is actually a safeguard that protects your life. And so when you really begin to look at the narrative, you're looking at a man who, in the first place, doesn't accept responsibility for his own actions, which is why he's still immature.
As your father used to quote, it's involvement, not commitment.
Yeah. So it starts when they're young, is what you've discovered. Yeah. And then there's the lack of commitment. So no, we'll just be boyfriend and girlfriend. In fact, I'm going to keep my place, but we're together. So it's and then that's where most domestic violence happens, the 90% in the United States.
Wow.
So Safeheart, tell me the if you will, the working statement for Safeheart.
Well, we build safe people and safe places. That's it's really simple. My wife came up with that, Teresa. She said, to really protect people, we need to build safe people, and those safe people will build safe places. And it's safe, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually safe to be you. And men, that's our responsibility, to create that safe environment. We've got to be the protectors, not the perpetrators. And so Teresa's spearheading, speaking to women and speaking in conferences and that sort of stuff. And my heart has been fermenting away for years to work with men. And we just knew God was turning the heat up, the Bunsen burner under me, saying, come on, now's the time. And COVID-19 has been the biggest blessing, because all of the schools shut down. It's given us time to focus on what I'd been doing on the side, which was Blood Brothers and our Bacon, Eggs and Bible monthly meetings.
So you have a Bacon, Eggs and Bible meeting.
Yes.
You've been doing that for some time, over a year, almost 2 years.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And then you started Blood Brothers.
Yep.
Okay. Men in Covenant.
Yep.
And then you started something that really has got me fired up, man. You've got a meeting coming up August the 14th through the 16th.
Yep.
South of Sydney, is that right?
Yes, it's 5.5 hours. It's basically halfway between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that would be in America, probably halfway between Fort Worth and Dallas. I don't know if that's far enough apart.
No, it's not far enough apart. But 5.5 hours would be just like getting through LA traffic from one side of the city.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, not now. There's not as much traffic. But so you guys are on the countryside, Yeah,
in the wide open country.
Yeah, so you're way past. What's a city south of Sydney that where Leanne Mathesius grew up?
Oh, Wollongong.
Wollongong. So that's about an hour south.
Yeah, that's about an hour south. And
we so just keep going.
Keep going.
Wollongong in the country, so you're really in the country. But you're calling it the resistance.
Yep.
And you've got a couple hundred men already.
Yes, it's crazy. It started off with an idea of just getting some of my blood brothers. I was thinking, let's just get 5 or 10 of us and go away for a weekend. And it's blown up into about 250 men at the moment. And it's got exponential growth written all over it. And I thought, well, if we're just going to get away, we've got to give it a name. And funny enough, I was actually watching Terminator Salvation with my sons. And John Connor played by Christian Bale, gets on the microphone or the CB radio, and he says, "This is John Connor. If you're listening to my voice, you're part of the resistance." And it just hit me. They were resisting this system. And then God just dropped into me, James 4:7. Submit yourself, therefore, to God, resist the devil and he will flee. And we always hear resist the devil, but if you're not submitted to God, you can't resist him. because you don't have the power of God and the grace of God in you to do in and through you what you can't do. So the key is to help men get submitted to God in an intimate, active, passionate, personal relationship with Jesus. Then resist the devil and he will flee. And then God just said, you're starting the resistance. And I went, right, we're calling it that. And the men have just jumped on board and said, wow, this is something I want to be part of. So we've booked a 115-year-old pub. We've booked it out. It's now a bed and breakfast, and that's fully booked. And there's men from all over the region, all farmers and people from the land are coming in and saying, well, we want to be part of this. So we're having a giant bacon, eggs and Bible on the Saturday, then going off and doing some lifestyle fun together, water skiing, stuff.
Maybe some motorcycles will be involved at some point, right?
There will be. Yeah, we've got a bunch of motorcycles and some guys who like to strap on the Lycra and get on the cycling. Those middle-aged mammals, middle-aged men in Lycra.
Yeah, so, my pastor, Phil Pringle, who you know well.
Yeah.
He said he has some days he has to make a choice, Lycra or leather.
Yeah.
He said, and recently he's been doing Lycra. I've seen it his IG, but he said last year it was pretty much a leather year.
Yeah.
It was like, you're either going to go bicycling or you're going to get on a motorcycle. So
it sounds like an 80s rock band, Lycra or leather.
Yeah, well, it's one I wouldn't want to see the photo.
No.
So man, that's fantastic, Brett. This is incredible. I'm talking to Brett Murray, who founder of and actually you're the CEO, Chief Encouragement Officer.
That's it.
Of Murray's Brawlers, new motorcycle that's coming out. When's your first one roll off the line? You're doing 28 in the first installment of motorcycles. Yeah,
well, because this is the prototype, we're sort of developing and building as we go. We take our brand new wheels that are being custom made for us. We take possession of those on Monday. So the bike is about 80% built. I'd love to have it built by August 14 to 16, but I can't see that happening because we've got a fair bit of work to do. But we are having a motorcycling gathering, an event. We're calling it the All In Brawl on International Men's Day, which is November 19. So I think that falls on a Thursday. So on the Saturday, we're going to have a gathering, and I think that'll be the launch of the bike. So we should have it done by November, and then we'll roll out 27 more of these machines, and we'll start doing events and rides and some pretty crazy things. It's fantastic, man. And the whole point is to bring men into relationship with Christ. That's it. Yeah. And let guys know that we're, it's the same old message. Guys who love God aren't wimps. Guys who love God aren't the fun police. We're not stick in the mud stoics who just, can't do anything. We actually want to be the best at everything we do. And if we're going to build a bike, build the best bike in the world. If we're going to build cars, build the best cars in the world. If we're going to go fishing, be the best fishermen in the world. Why can't we, do it excel in everything we do? Yeah. That's what Jeremiah wrote to Daniel and the guys, when they were taken into captivity in Jeremiah 29, the first 5 or 6 verses. Yeah. Basically says, just occupy the land and be excellent in everything you do. Yeah. And of course that letter from Jeremiah made them amazing. That group. Yeah, absolutely. So this is fantastic, man, what you're doing. I love being a part of this. I'm glad Christian Men's Network is a part of this. Definitely. And that we're connected on all this. But man, we just pray that this thing just explodes across Australia. Because as you and I have talked, there has been, if you will, a contraction in the ministry to men in the Australasia region. Now, Indonesia's gone off the chain with the camps and the intensives. We've had 1 million men go through Maximize Manhood in Indonesia. That is phenomenal. Just that nation alone. We know in China, and now they're cracking down on it terribly, but we know we've got somewhere around 600,000 or 700,000 men going through stages of Maximize Manhood. Wow. In the camps. They have to do it. It's all underground. Yeah. And so I can't go back in there. I was there 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And can't go back in. And I was going to meet some guys in Hong Kong. Can't do that. Wow. But you had breakthrough in Vietnam. Yeah, but the Vietnam thing, we're doing a live webinar from our studio here to Vietnam middle of September. Wow.
So that's exciting. But I just believe, the Lord's taking guys like you, stirring it in your hearts, and Michael Murphy, a great friend who has a lot of influence in Australia. He told me the other day, he's 100% behind it. And so he'll, all those guys are going to support it. Your pastor, Brian Houston, I know he's behind it. I know he believes strongly in discipleship of men. And so it's exciting to see this. And man, we just pray not only for a great event, but for stirring in the hearts of other leaders across the country.
Yeah.
So this thing, and it may not even just be called a resistance. It may be out in the Perth or something on the, West Coast, they come up with, guy comes up with another thing. And then emerge coming out of San Diego. They're going to connect with some, probably in Wollongong.
Yeah.
Family connection there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we're coming to the next emerge.
Yeah, that's whenever that is. It was supposed to be May. Then it got pushed back to the September. Now it looks like it's going to be next year.
Yeah.
But that's the great men's conference and men's event in San Diego with our friends at C3 at Awaken Church, San Diego.
Yeah.
Jürgen Mathesius, Jeff Forbes, and all the guys. So, man, I'm praying this thing just rocks the East Coast, which is
thank you.
Essentially, you go from Darwin's kind of north, but if you took it all the way from Darwin down to Melbourne, that whole side of Australia is basically where all of Australia's huddled.
Yeah, it is. It's probably
huddled against the coast.
Yeah, it's probably about 70% of our nation's population.
And so, I could just see that thing rocking because I know I've talked to guys. I've been there a number of times. Who've had ministry there for years. I just know it's in the hearts of men, and it takes somebody who's willing to just go balls out.
That's it.
To just say, hey, we're going to do this thing. And the only hope for the future, the only thing that's going to save the nation of Australia, the nation of the United States, is if our young men get fully committed to Jesus Christ.
That's it. Yeah, they need to get their identity from Christ and be who God's made them to be. And that's sons of the King. And so now here's why. It's in your own family. Your daughter's getting married, right? She's marrying a young man that most likely the two of them are going to go into some sort of ministry. Absolutely. Yeah, it's all over their life.
He's coming out of Mark and Darlene Check's church. Yeah. Which are great friends, great pastors. They're doing, it's really been a renaissance for Mark in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
Video and
brilliant church. Yeah.
Media background that he was the head of media for Hillsong for years. And of course, Darlene wrote all those great songs. And then, so there's ministry. Now your second son, is he the one that's is writing the movies, or is it
No, that's my third son.
Okay.
Second son, third child. Yeah.
So your oldest son is working out hard for NRL.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Believing for breakthrough this year for him.
So that's Aussie rules football. Is that right? Or
no, that's rugby league. Yeah. So you got rugby, which is played in the English schools. Yeah, there's two types of rugby. There's rugby league, union. Which is rugby union,
and rugby league.
Rugby league is the more brutal of the two.
Okay, so he's going for that one.
Yeah, he's going for the crazy one. Yeah. Well, you guys in the States have had our NRL televised because we've started our national competition again. So it's been televised live into the States, and apparently some of the big hits that have been happening the last couple of weeks, which we say week in, week out, have gone viral in the States because everyone can't figure out how these guys do it with no pads and no helmets.
It's actually safer.
Yeah.
Fascinating in the sense that because you aren't wearing a helmet, you don't hit each other in the head.
Yeah, no, that's illegal.
What happened with the National Football League and with college is they kept making the helmets better and better and better, safer and safer and safer. So guys started hitting each other in the head.
Yeah, and using it as a weapon.
And we essentially weaponized it. You had fewer injuries with worse helmets.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
anyway.
We digress.
So now you got a son doing that, and then you got your second son, your third child.
Yeah.
Working on writing movies.
Yeah, feature film scripts.
Yeah. So my thing is, what I love about that is that's a fully orbed what the church is. Because
Yeah.
too often what happens is we hear about, hey, motorcycles, and we think, okay, men's ministry, motorcycles, and shooting something and eating it. Okay. Right? That's ministry.
Yeah.
But I think ministry to men is basically all of that. Writing movies, getting in a sports league. I believe that some of the greatest inroads we'll have in our nation here, you'll have in Australia, we'll have all over the world in every culture, West and East, is when the churches start raising up youth league coaches.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Men who are willing to go in. You know, there are youth leagues in the United States that are folding because they can't find coaches.
Oh.
Just guys that will show up twice a week and coach kids on soccer or American gridiron, football, whatever the thing is.
Basketball or whatever it is,
Basketball, whatever the league is. And I keep telling guys, listen, I was as busy as anybody in the world when my kids were growing up. I was traveling 150 days a year, building a business, doing all this stuff. And I still coach my kids because I did it with some other guys.
Same here. Coach both the boys. Coach both the boys in rugby union and coach my daughter in netball.
Netball, I don't understand that game. So that we won't even get into a discussion of that. Like, why do you stop?
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Keep running. Yeah.
Anyway. So, but the fact is that you did all that. We do that. And I think men can do that. They just have to get out of their own little selfish comfortability, man.
Yeah. A friend of mine has this saying. He says, if you want to do something, you'll find a reason. If you don't want to do something, you'll find an excuse.
Man, that's a solid one right there. That may have come from Winston Churchill. Who knows?
Probably. I think so.
So the fact is I think that, you know, what we're talking about when we talk about ministry to men is if your son has this bent towards artwork, then help him become incredible at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And have him end up doing the next Sistine Chapel or whatever. There's Michelangelo on his back on a scaffold, speaking in tongues, painting the Sistine Chapel, right? This has been corroborated that he felt he was in the Spirit of God as he's painting, man. Now think about that. Think about, you know, it's like different guys that we know. You know, some can do one thing, some are hunters. I've got friends who are great hunters. I got other guys who fish. I got other friends who paint. I got other guys who do sculpting. You know, guys are writers. I think all of that is part of being fully man. Yeah. Full manliness. Yeah. And establishing the kingdom of heaven on the earth. I think we need more Christian politicians, man.
Absolutely.
It's pretty obvious.
We certainly do. Well, we're blessed. We've actually got a Christian prime minister who is
you got a PM prime minister right now who's
well, Mike's his pastor. Mike Murphy
didn't just become a believer because it was political.
No, he was been a believer for a long time. I've actually known our prime minister for over 20 years.
Yeah, personally,
and I know I've prayed in the Spirit with him in his office when he was just a member of Parliament, and you know he's the real deal. We're blessed to have a man of God at the helm.
Yeah, well, you know, I appreciate our president because he does have a heart towards those things, and he does allow people to lay hands on him and pray for him. So, you know, I pray for him, and we're instructed to do that. We're instructed
we need to
pray for leaders. In fact, I think before we even criticize anybody, we should pray for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I'm gonna cut the recording right here just so I can post this, because we were supposed to go live, you and I, and for some reason the little stuff in the computer or something didn't allow us to go live. But I wanted to at least record this between you and I.
Yeah.
Brett, so that people would see what's happening in other parts of the world.
Yeah,
they know a lot about what's happening in South America with Robert Berger and all our teams down through all those countries, and Marcos Polo in Brazil, all that. They know a lot about Eddie Leo and the guys happening Berlin church with all our friends in Europe, but we haven't had much feedback come back out of Australia, and this just psychs me up, man.
Yeah, very excited, and we're at the infancy. It's despise not small beginnings, but I got a huge vision for this, and it's beyond me. I mean, it's got to be God, because there's no one in the world I could do anything like this. And he's just touching it, and just getting good men coming out of the woodwork saying, "How can we be a part of this?" And it's so humbling and so exciting to see what God's going to do.
It's fantastic. Absolutely
very excited.
So I've been talking with Brett Murray. Brett Murray got an event coming up August 14th through 16th. If you're watching anywhere in the world and you can get to Australia, you should probably go to this. It's called The Resistance. How do we find out details? Is there a website somewhere?
Yeah, no, we've got a Facebook page called The Resistance Men's Gathering. So I just started and we've got our just Google
Safeheart.
Yeah,
Facebook page.
Murray, Facebook.
The Resistance Men's Gathering.
Yeah.
So thank God that Facebook hasn't thrown us off yet. So praying for Mark Zuckerberg and all his team.
Yes.
They mean well.
Yeah.
And so August 14th to 16th, that's The Resistance. Wait a minute. So you got a wedding right around the same time.
Oh, well, in September. So it's a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 weeks later, so you're like, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. Well, I've got an engagement party in 2 weeks from now, and then The Resistance, and then the wedding.
Yeah, you guys are coming out of COVID, so thank God for that.
Yeah.
And so The Resistance, Blood Brothers, and you're writing stuff. So this is incredible, man. So it's exciting. We're going to pray for Australia, pray for you, Brett, and we appreciate and love you guys. And
we appreciate you guys so much.